Welcome into the CLNS Media Roundtable discussion with your Red Sox beat team. I'm Jess Thomas, and I'm joined today by two of our fantastic members, and they both happen to be doing their first roundtable tonight. We got Lars Gjesteby, and we got Alex Lebowitz here on the roundtable. Gentlemen, how's it going?
It's going well. It's great to be on.
Yeah, great to be on. First time, here we go.
First time's a charm, we hope at least. So everybody, fantasy football is back. The wait is nearly over because football starts real soon here as we are rounding the home stretch into September. And that also means that FanDuel is back, and this roundtable is powered by FanDuel. And you make sure to go to FanDuel.com, click the Join Now button, and you can use the code RedSoxBeat to play for free. So make sure you do that because it's coming up real fast here, and you can win a lot of cash. So we definitely encourage you to do that. Our topics today on this roundtable here, make sure to check out CLNS Media on Twitter at CLNS Media, also on Facebook, also at CLNS Media. Got the new website coming up soon. A lot of good stuff here in the CLNS Media world. But we're going to start here with our first topic, and that is, because you haven't heard about him enough, David Price. Our first thing here is we are wondering what is going to happen to the rotation and to him when he comes back. Will he start for the team? Will he be on a limited pitch count, limited inning count? Will he be in the bullpen? Will he come back at all? So, Alex, we'll start with you. What do you foresee happening when Price comes back, if it even happens?
Well, the minor league schedule, the regular season, ends this Monday. Barring him getting a rehab start in between now and then, I think he's going to be put in the bullpen to start. I think it's tough to stick a guy on the mound to start a game when he hasn't pitched in forever how long, a month or a few months. So I see him. I don't think he's going to get that start in today. He's pitching from the mound, doing some work on the mound for the first time in forever. So unless he gets that rehab start in, I can't see Farrell putting him on the mound for him to go, 3 innings, pitching 80 pitches in those 3 innings, and then getting pulled early and having his bullpen, be worked more than they should be.
Lars, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I saw that he's throwing off a mound tonight, but I also saw that Farrell said he's probably not going to get into a game within the next week. So that kind of says, well, no rehab assignment. How's he going to build the strength back to be in the starting rotation? I don't see it happening. I think a bullpen role is probably better suited for him and maybe for this team too, especially going into the playoffs. We know of his track record. Hasn't won a game as a starter. So working out of the bullpen as a reliever in the playoffs, maybe that's what can get him back on track.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like at this point in the heat of a playoff race, especially depending on what happens this weekend with the Yankees, like, if you're only a couple games up, do you want to bring Price back and then have him working through his issues when you're trying to win games and win the division, and he, like I said at the beginning, going like 2 or 3 innings, throwing 60 or 70 pitches because he's not fresh? Like, do you want to be risking him pitching poorly and losing games just to bring him back? Like, it's poor. I mean, it's poor timing, right, in terms of, like, the time of the season. It's good to get him back at all if you do, but it's like, on another hand, it might be detrimental.
And another reality is that you look at Doug Fister, he'd be the guy who's going to the bullpen if Price does come back into the starting rotation. Past 2 starts, he's been phenomenal. Let's see how long this lasts. I'm not saying Doug Fister is going to be the answer for the Red Sox and he's going to, beat out David Price. But right now he gives you the luxury to, take your time with the David Price. Don't force him in there when you're heading into a playoff run. I think that if I were Farrell, stick him in the bullpen. This is a guy who you need to be delicate with in David Price. And again, Eduardo Rodriguez, he's been all right. Porcello, obviously shaky. And then you got Fister. Fister's going to be the one that goes into the bullpen. I'd rather see him start right now than a David Price who's going to be rusty, inevitably.
Yeah, I think the irony is, though, that Fister's the only guy in the starting rotation who's won a playoff game as a starter. I'm not saying he should be in the playoff starting rotation, but it's funny that he's probably going to be the guy that goes to the bullpen.
I mean, he has like a 2.6 ERA, too.
Yeah.
Right.
In the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a pretty good career overall. If you look at his numbers, a little up and down. But I mean, who do you guys trust for the playoffs? Obviously, we don't know, what they'll do because Sale's never pitched in the playoffs. Pomeranz has never pitched in the playoffs. Erod's young. Price, we know about him. Porcello just made his first start last year. Fister's the only one with a win. So, who do we trust in the bullpen? Do we go based off of those previous things, or do we go based on what we've seen in the regular season? I mean, are you guys going to trust Fister more than Erod and Porcello, or do we still pick, where do you guys see the rotation fitting out, whether Price is in it or not?
Yeah, I mean, between Price, Erod, and Fister, two of those three are going to be in the bullpen. One of them might not even be on the playoff roster. That's a realistic possibility. In that starting rotation, I don't know. Fister's the only one with a proven track record in the postseason. If he continues to pitch like he has been, or even just a guy who can give you 6 innings, giving up 3 runs or whatever it is, give you some quality starts, I'd honestly rather go with him than David Price or Eduardo Rodriguez, because at least he's proven himself at that stage. And David Price has also been decent in the bullpen in the postseason with the Rays. Obviously, Red Sox fans are all too familiar with that. I don't know. I think you have to wait and see. I think Farrell's probably going to put Price into the starting rotation in the postseason. I don't know if that's the right move because I just don't trust him. I don't think he's a guy you can rely on when it comes to that stage. Fister, he's a seasoned veteran. He's kind of found his rhythm. He's got a month ahead of him. If he does pretty well this upcoming month, I know this sounds crazy to say given the fact that he only has 2 good starts right now, but if he does well this upcoming month, that's the guy I'm putting in my starting rotation to round it off.
Lars, I mean, who do you trust? Do you trust Price to pitch in the playoffs? Do you trust Fister to pitch in the playoffs? Neither? Both?
I mean, I could see Fister winning the job, if he has a really strong closing month, assuming that Price doesn't come back. But Price, I mean, he's the $30 million man. He's the guy you signed to win big games as a starter. Putting him in the bullpen might make the most logistical sense, but then it's like, that's a big-time guy that you're leaving out of your rotation. So, I don't know. I could see it going either way. I don't know that I trust either of them right now until I see the last month of the season. Yeah,
I mean, I want to trust Price based on his experience and his track record, but part of me kind of just doesn't want him to come back and just forget the rest of the year, see what we can do with this team, and then not worry about him until next year. His playoff struggles are all too far documented. So I mean, we'll see what happens with it. So while this season is in the last month and it's wrapping up, the football season is just beginning. So everyone should head over to FanDuel. There's new contests every week. No busted seasons, no David Price seasons. You don't have to miss months on end. You can get a new team every week, and it just starts at $1. You pick a contest, choose your team, and watch your score in real time. 2.5 million over that players have won a cash prize playing fantasy sports on FanDuel. So make sure you head over to FanDuel for free with no deposit required, visiting FanDuel.com to claim your free contest. Play for a share of $10,000. Just sign up using promo code RedSoxBeat. That's FanDuel.com, promo code RedSoxBeat. Void where prohibited. So, fellas, let's move over to the offense. And Dustin Pedroia, he could come back this weekend. He could come back early next week, but it looks like it's pretty promising for the second baseman to come back. So you bring him back in the lineup. Obviously, you already have Nunez playing. You already have Devers playing. Hanley's played some first. Moreland's played some first. There's obviously the DH spot as well. So, Lars, starting with you, when Pedroia comes back, what does Farrell do with his lineup?
Yeah, well, I think I'm really excited for Pedroia to come back because he's a guy I think we need in our lineup every day. He's a 300 hitter. We don't have anyone else hitting 300 right now. Got to get him at bat somehow. The knee's probably going to be fragile still. I don't know how they're going to handle that. So he's got to probably have some time at DH that would cut into Hanley's playing time, who we know has been struggling in August. He's hitting, 200, 218. I know he's maybe starting to round a corner, hit that homer last night. 2 hits on Monday's game. But also Devers is cooling off. He could benefit from some days off. So I think with Pedroia's return, actually gives them more flexibility to give some guys some time to kind of get back, rest up, figure their swings out.
Yeah, they have the luxury of having a lot of depth, especially in the infield. Nunez can play either third or second, even shortstop at times. Who knows? And you said it. Devers has cooled off a little bit. Hanley obviously has been unreliable at the plate this entire season, with the exception of the past 2 games. And you don't want to overwork Pedroia, and you don't have to. That's the beauty of this team and the lineup they have right now. I don't want to see Farrell stick him out there every second base. Obviously, we missed his glove. Nunez is a big drop-off defensively. But this is a guy who's, 34 years old. He's dealt with a lot of injury in his career. And you're heading into October, heading into September right now, the number 1 team in the AL East. Play him smart. Stick him out at second base as much as possible, but don't be afraid to have him be the DH for you, or even give him a night off. I think the priority right now with Pedroia is to make sure he remains healthy and that he's ready to go come October.
Yeah, I mean, you need his bat, and it's like you said, Lars, he's hitting 300, and he also has 54 RBI, which is 4 more than Hanley Ramirez, and Pedroia's played a lot less than Hanley, which is pathetic. I mean, Hanley should be hitting like 9th with those RBI numbers. He's a cleanup hitter with 54 RBI at the start of September. That's disgusting. But I say bench Hanley for as many days as you can. Have him play like twice a week maybe, and keep riding Moreland because he's been good. Yeah, put Pedroia at second, maybe Nunez at third, give Devers a couple days off. I'm sure Pedroia will also get a couple days off, but I mean, personally, I say play Hanley the least amount possible, and let the rest of the cards fall where they do, because, I mean, at this point, yes, Hanley has 20 home runs, I get that. He's also hitting 240, so it's like, I don't see you getting much from him, so I say you ride Nunez, Pedroia, and Moreland, it kind of in a rotation of those spots. So I don't know, but anybody who says that the team's better off without Pedroia, I think that's insane. I mean, Lars, from what you said, it seems like you kind of agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely don't think they're better off without him. He's their best hitter average-wise, so it's kind of mind-boggling how they can be better without him. But I also think with Pedroia's return, that also means that we don't have to use Brock Holt as much, which is kind of...
Thank God.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love the guy, he's hitting 180. That's just not cutting it. You can't be in there. You can't be starting more than, once or twice a week. That's, kind of ridiculous.
Not with that average, yeah.
And the thing is, to go back to your point about the Red Sox being better off, the fact that the Sox started to play well once Pedroia and Price hit the DL was just coincidence, and anyone who thinks it's more than that is ridiculous. They were still in the clubhouse. They were still around the team. It has nothing to do with that. At least Pedroia, he was productive. He's the best hitter on the team. Obviously, they need him back. And in regard to Hanley Ramirez, I'm not going to give up hope on him simply because I think that when it comes to important stages, important times, he'll show up. When he wants to, he'll be that guy you need him to be most of the time. Obviously, he's lazy. He's frustrating to watch. But I think in September, he can turn a corner. He has in years past. I wouldn't put it past him this season. That said, Moreland's been the better player overall. Pedroia obviously has been the better player. But I still think you shouldn't just bench Hanley because another thing is he might get discouraged. He's a guy who's I don't think personally is the toughest mentally. So I want to keep him in the lineup. I think he can still be a valuable asset. He's a great bat. And I'm not going to give up on him simply because I think he can do something good in September like he has in years past. I just think complacency is his biggest problem.
Well, geez, I hope you're right about the clutch thing because he's been pretty much the opposite of clutch for the entire season. I mean, his numbers are brutal if you look at the clutch gene. So, I mean...
runners and scoring, yeah.
Exactly, late game situations. But, I mean, hopefully things even out. He's been so bad that it's kind of hard to get any worse. So maybe the law of averages will balance out in his favor. I certainly would be okay with that. All right, let's move on to our final topic. Just a couple minutes on this one. We want to talk about Drew Pomeranz because before yesterday, on Tuesday, when Chris Sale got his 15th win, a little guy named Drew Pomeranz here was tied for first in the AL in wins with Sale with 14. Pomeranz is 14-4 now this season, which is a career high by a couple wins because his career high was last year with a combo of the Red Sox and the Padres. So he has beaten that. He's up to 14 wins, and his ERA is 3.23. I mean, this guy has underratedly been one of the best stories in the majors this year, I'd say. I know I don't watch every team and every game or anything like that, but 14-4 with a 3.23 ERA. The guy hasn't lost since June. I mean, you got to trust this guy, don't you? Alice, you can go first.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been a prototypical number 2 starter for a World Series caliber team. With Sale and then him, that's as good of a 1-2 as you can get looking at the numbers. And we didn't expect it coming in. You thought Porcello would be that guy, and then probably Price, and then Pomeranz. I agree with you. I think it's a great story, one of the best stories. It's unexpected. I think it's the biggest shocker of this season. You go back to when Dombrowski traded for him. There were a lot of people who didn't like the trade, and given the production that the Sox got from him, they were right to be a little bit upset last season. He's made that trade worth it with this year alone. He's been as reliable as anyone on this pitching staff, with the exception of Chris Sale. And heading into the playoffs, he's solidified that number 2 starter role. And he's just been the epitome of consistency for this team, which, the Red Sox need desperately and have needed desperately.
Yeah, what a difference a year makes. I mean, last year you were talking about sending him back, getting Espinosa back, but now it's Espinosa who had the Tommy John, and Pomeranz is having, his career year. So I think that pretty much settles that deal. And yeah, he's been so consistent. Like you mentioned, hasn't lost since June. The Red Sox have won all 5 of his starts in August, which is huge. He still has some problems with the walks. It can get him into trouble a little bit, but he's shown that he can work out of jams, although it does limit his pitch count and his ability to go past, 6th or 7th inning, which could be a concern. But, I'm confident in him for the postseason. I'd like him to finish strong and really get some momentum going into October.
Yeah, I like what you said about the walks, because looking at his numbers, 5 in his last start, 4 before that. He had starts in July of 4, 5, and 5 in terms of walks. So it definitely is a problem, but in all those games, he's never given up more than 4 runs. And yeah, the innings here or there a little bit, but overall, pretty much 5 or 6, 6 1/3, 6 2/3 most of the time. A couple ones below that, but most of the time it's been pretty consistent. So hard to argue with that. If you get in trouble, if you get out of it, it's kind of hard to argue with it. So
and you'd rather have him give up, a few walks and give up as many home runs as he did last year. He was giving up home runs left and right. So I'd rather have him pitch around guys and walk some batters than, get shelled.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, way less homers this year for him than last year. That's a great point. He gave a home run every start except one last year with the Red Sox, and he's only given up 15 this whole year, since April. So that's definitely something. And I'm pumped too, because when we did player to watch for at the beginning of the season, I picked Pomeranz because I felt like he'd have a good season, and sure enough, it came true. So most of those predictions don't work out too well, but that one did. So we'll take it. All right. That's going to do it for us here in the Roundtable. Thanks so much, guys, for coming on, and thank everybody for listening. Make sure you check out all of our Roundtables, as well as our newsfeed items with notes and recaps, as well as our weekly Red Sox Beat show. So make sure you check all of that out. Go get your FanDuel membership, and we'll catch up with you soon. Before we leave, one sec, guys. Second predictions. What do you got for this weekend series for the Yankees?
Ooh, it's going to be tough. I need to look up the matchups, who's pitching against who. I'm going to give the edge to the Red Sox. I think they'll probably get 3 out of 4, just given the track record this season against the Yankees. And I think you have both Pomeranz and Sale going this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So those are 2 automatic wins. I assume they'll get one of the other 2 as well.
Yeah, we got Porcello going tonight, so that leaves, I guess, the other 4 for the series. The Yankees are playing a doubleheader today with Cleveland, so we may have the upper hand in tomorrow's game. So I like 3 wins for this weekend. Not bad. I picked a split on the show on Monday night, so I'll stick with my split 2-2. But you feel pretty good with Sale and Pomeranz pitching, so we'll see what happens. Look forward to it. All right, guys, thanks so much, and we will see you next time.